Well, good morning and welcome to another week of the video worship service here on the Park Avenue channel. So glad you have tuned in, and I hope that our time together will be uplifting, encouraging, and hopefully maybe give you a lesson here that can assist you in this daily walk that we're experiencing today. As always, we long to encourage you, and we want you to know just how much we miss your participation, but we understand the circumstances being as what they are. So, sit back, enjoy some of the music, and then we'll get back to you in a little bit. Thanks. Looking forward to it. Well, good morning, church. It is truly good to be with you again. Now, and we're going to continue our series that we've been talking about. What are we missing? How do you feel about the eye exam we received in the year 2020? Didn't go too well, did it? More importantly, the results that which came about because of this year has presented us with some issues that we need to take a look at. How we see things and how that impacts our lives. You know, the week before last, I spoke about recognizing the awe of God in our everyday life. And I know that gets kind of hard sometimes. We're not amazed hardly anymore. We're not caught up. We're so busy looking at everything else and not really paying attention or seeing the majesty and the glory of God in everything, not just in creation, but in human beings and other things. There is a tremendous amount that should grab our attention, but it doesn't always do that. And I know that sometimes is difficult because for whatever reasons, we are unable to see things accurately. To prove my example, I'm going to post a picture up right here, and I want you to take a look at it and tell me what I want you to look for a toothbrush. You ready? Here it goes. Now, I know that was kind of quick, but did you see the toothbrush? The amazing thing is, it's truly amazing sometimes what we do see, but then what we missed or just can't see because it doesn't register. I'm going to put the picture back up again, and I'm assuming most of you saw the toothbrush, the little toothbrush. This time, tell me, can you see another toothbrush? All right, you see it in the back there, that big one? How did we miss that? How did we not see that big old toothbrush? What we pay attention to is largely determined by our expectations of what should be present. Given the fact that I told you a toothbrush, and in your mind you immediately think of a small toothbrush. You didn't think of a large toothbrush. And that is sometimes the problem with what we see. What we expect to see is what we're looking for. You ever have that in your life? You expect things to not be what you want. And so immediately you begin looking around, and guess what you see? Things that you're expecting to see. But what if, for a change, you didn't have that mindset, but was looking with the expectations of not knowing what you would see? Have you ever lost your keys? And when you went to look for them, you couldn't find them. Then all of a sudden you find them, and you wonder, how in the world did you miss seeing them? I mean, you may have walked by them 2 or 3 times. We've all experienced that. Something that we're looking for we can't find because it's not where we expect it to be. And therefore, because of the way our mind works, we don't expect to see it there. We tell ourselves, I don't expect to find it in here. So guess what? If it's in there, you might not even see it because you're not expecting to. This condition is called scotoma. And what scotoma is it's a literal term in the vision world of a blind spot. And there are people that actually have the physical condition of this, where they have, I have a spot in one of my eyes that is darkened. It's no big deal to me anymore because my eye now, literally, my brain fills in the gap. But there are people with larger versions of scotoma who have larger blind spots that can't literally see, like out of the sides, peripheral vision. There's all kinds of things that affect that. And it's a blind spot. In a psychological application, according to some psychologists, what happens is too often we develop blind spots of things we can't see because we don't expect anything to be there. Our expectations affect what we see. In other words, if you don't believe it, you won't see it. If you don't expect to see it, you won't see it. And transferring that further, if you don't believe it, you won't see it. Society says what? Seeing is believing. But in a lot of cases, it's actually believing that enables our seeing. That's why trust and rapport, or giving somebody the benefit of the doubt, or stepping into people's shoes, looking at things from different perspectives can help us see what we can't see. Remember now, every human experience, everything you've ever said, seen, felt, smelled, tasted, or is stored in your brain. And when you congruently say you cannot remember, you're right. Because you've told your mind not to remember. But when you you command your mind, hey, let's remember this, your nervous system actually opens up to different things. Our mind helps us see. That is so fascinating, I think. And our mind reacts to what we believe or expect to see there. There's a story in the Bible, Numbers 22, that is just fascinating. It's one of the most unusual stories in the Bible. And if you want to turn there, I'm going to be doing quite a bit of reading here. But I'm going to read kind of fast, stop a couple times, but there's an interesting story here. Do you remember the story of Balaam and his donkey? Balak is a king of the Moabites, and he needs help with an army from Egypt. And so he sends off, he knows about Balaam, how that Balaam has evidently these powers. So he sends some men, beginning in 22 verse 4 of Numbers. So Balak, son of Zippor, who was the king of Moab at that time, sent messengers to summon Balaam, son of Beor, who was at Pethar near the Euphrates River in this native land. Balak said, "A people has come out of Egypt. They cover the face of the land and have settled next to me. Now come and put a curse on these people, because they are too powerful for me. Perhaps then I will be able to defeat them and drive them out of the land. For I know that whoever you bless is blessed, and that whoever you curse is cursed." And the elders of Moab and Midian left, taking with them the fee for divination. When they came to Balaam, they told him what Balak had said. "Spend the night here," Balaam said to them, "and I will report back to you with the answer the Lord gives me." So the Moabite officials stayed with him. Verse 9, God came to Balaam and asked, "Who are these men with you?" Balaam said to God, "Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab, sent me this message. A people that has come out of Egypt covers the face of the land. Now come and put a curse on them for me. Perhaps then I will be able to fight them and drive them away." But God said to Balaam, "Do not go with them. You must not put a curse on those people, because they are blessed." The next morning Balaam got up and said to Balak's officials, "Go back to your own country, for the Lord has refused to let me go with you." It's not exactly, it's close, but not exactly. That'll help give us some insight as we read further. So the Moabite officials returned to Balak and said, "Balaam refused to come with us." Then Balak sent other officials, more numerous and more distinguished than the first. They came to Balaam and said, "This is what Balak, son of Zippor, says. Do not let anything keep you from coming to me, because I will reward you handsomely and do whatever you say. Come and put a curse on these people for me." But Balaam answered, "Even if Balak gave me all the silver and gold in his palace, I could not do anything great or small to go beyond the command of the Lord my God. Now spend the night here so that I can find out what else the Lord will tell me." That night God came to Balaam and said, "Since these men have come to summon you, go with them, but do only what I tell you." Balaam got up in the morning, saddled his donkey, and went with the Moabite officials. But God was very angry when he went, and the angel of the Lord stood in the road to oppose him. Balaam was riding on his donkey, and his 2 servants were with him. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with a drawn sword in his hand, it turned off the road and into a field. Balaam beat it to get it back on the road. Then the angel of the Lord stood in a narrow path through the vineyards with walls on both sides. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it pressed close to the wall, crushing Balaam's foot against it. So he beat the donkey again. Then the angel of the Lord moved on ahead and stood in a narrow place where there was no room to turn, either to the right or to the left. When the donkey saw the angel of the Lord, it lay down under Balaam, and he was angry and beat it with his staff. Then the Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and it said to Balaam, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" Balaam answered the donkey, "You have made a fool of me. If only I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now." The donkey said to Balaam, "Am I not your own donkey, which you have always ridden to this day? Have I been in the habit of doing this to you?" "No," he said. Then the Lord opened Balaam's eyes, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the road with his sword drawn. So he bowed low and fell face down. The angel of the Lord asked him, "Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? I have come here to oppose you, because your path is a reckless one before me. The donkey saw me and turned away from me these 3 times. If I had not turned away, I would have certainly killed you by now, but I would certainly have killed you by now, but I would have spared it." Balaam said to the angel of the Lord, "I have sinned. I did not realize you were standing in the road to oppose me. Now if you are displeased, I will go back." The angel of the Lord said to Balaam, "Go with the men, but speak only what I tell you." So Balaam went with the Balak's officials. When Balak heard that Balaam was coming, he went out to meet him at the Moabite town on the Arnon border at the edge of his territory. Balak said to Balaam, "Did I not send you an urgent summons? Why didn't you come to me? Am I really not able to reward you?" "Well, I have come to you now," Balaam replied, "but I can't say whatever I please. I must only speak what God puts in my mouth." You and I, sometimes like Balaam, hear what God says, but don't really take it all in. Balaam evidently his words weren't matching up with what God told him to do. Now I know God told him to go, but was that the problem? I think the problem was in his heart. Balaam was trying to figure out a way to make this thing work for him. Now, and God was determined to open Balaam's eyes, to have him see what was really there. And it's amazing, the donkey saw it, didn't he? The donkey was able to see what Balaam couldn't see. And what even more amazing is that the donkey explained it to Balaam. See, what you believe or don't believe actually might hurt you or hinder you in your life. And what somebody else believes or doesn't believe about you or what you're saying might hurt you too. Sometimes the best way to break out of this loop is to ask a question or a different question, or to reinterpret the patterns. You know, our lives we're purposed here to acknowledge and see the glory of God. And in doing so, it allows us to see things that we maybe can't see otherwise. Paul talks about it all the time, and I read that scripture the week before last, from 2 Corinthians chapter 3, about being able to see clearly because of Jesus. Because this reality of faith in Jesus opens us up to new things. It allows us to see what we can't see. And it helps us to recognize what we're missing. What am I missing? What can't I see? Our world says seeing is believing. Most everything that all of our sciences are seeing it and then believing it. But really, believing helps the seeing. Maybe we need to believe in what God can do more so that we can see and act differently. And it's got me to wonder, what else aren't we seeing right in our lives? What else are we missing that hinders us from having the relationship with God and with Jesus that we should have? And just as important, that impacts the way we see our life ahead of us in this world that we're living. I know that many of us are frustrated, and many of us are discouraged by the times we're living in, because we're seeing with our eyes. We need to open them up and take Romans 8 a little more literal, in that when Paul says that God promises that He will work through all things. Can you see that now? Can you see the fact that God is with us through everything? Can you see the fact that God wants to help us to deal with everything? Jesus didn't quit opening our eyes. He's continually trying to open our eyes to see what's there. Let's not be like Balaam and make up our mind what should be there and is there. Let's trust God and see what happens when we do. God bless. Look forward to seeing you next week, and we'll continue our series on What Are We Missing? Have a great day. Thank you.
Guide me, O thou great Jehovah, pilgrim through this barren land. I am weak, but thou art mighty. Hold me with thy powerful hand. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Bread of heaven, feed me till I want no more. Open now the crystal fountain whence the healing waters flow. Let the fiery, cloudy pillar lead me all my journey through. Strong deliverer, be thou still my strength.